so many familiar faces, but it's even better to see all those new faces. So it's our third event in Cape Town, and it is huge, it's great, it's extremely inspiring because people ask me, so why are you so excited about the meetings in Cape Town? And I think there is a slight difference between what you as a community try to achieve here and what somewhere else. Because I always hear that you're not only here to improve Standard Bank, but you want to also improve the country and you want to improve the continent. So there is more in it than, let's say, short-term profits. And that is something we, let's call it in the West, have forgotten. So, and just go back to the question about why should banks think like a software company. So I used to be an ING employee, and we used to have that headquarters, impressive, a huge atrium, a lot of empty space, but to impress people. And then the management said, we need to think like a software company. So they built a new headquarters, and it's a campus. They looked at how are the software companies organized in Silicon Valley, and we're going to do the same type of building, campus atmosphere, to create that software development environment or the software awareness environment. So we have completely different headquarters. It looks great. If you close your eyes, you think you're in Silicon Valley. So they want to have, for all the employees, the idea to become a software company, or at least think at software, as David explained. So it is something that's all. So what I'm doing, I just want to explain to everybody, maybe it's a little bit over the top. So what is our mission? So our mission, when we started in 2008, is to solve the integration issues for the bank. And in 2008, David asked who was already in IT in 2000. Well, I was in IT in 75. Okay, but that's something else. So when I was talking about hype cycles. So when I joined State Bank in the Netherlands, we had a mainframe, and we had a memory of 128K. That was the memories. And then we got an upgrade to 256K. And we didn't know what to do with the memory. We were just completely lost. What are we going to do with all that memory? So that is a hype cycle from a different era. And a watch has more memory than our mainframe that took a whole floor. But in 2008, the whole idea of integration was, how do I add additional functionality to my existing environment? And it was costly, risky, and so on and so forth. And we moved from internal integration to external integration. That's why we have the whole API environment. And then when we had those APIs and we had them underlying microservices, we said we can use that again for the internal integration. And so we did some projects, proof of concept, what we call the coreless bank, to see how can we run a bank without a core system, and how should that look like? Well, there's good news and there's bad news. We cannot run a bank today without a core system, but at least we can shrinken the core. So that is one of the examples you can find at BIAN. But when we are discussing integration, here it is. Yeah, I would like to point to the screen, but that's a little bit difficult. So this is a graph from the American bank. So what are the issues when you want to modernize your bank? And I think it's 67% of the respondents said integration. And integration, and David also referred to integration, is extremely costly and time-consuming. So if we can lower the percentage, then it makes a huge difference. So Gartner once calculated that for each IT dollar spent, and that including everything in IT, the data centers, 60 to 70 cents goes to integration. So you only have 30 cents for new things, for innovation, for new products, and so on and so forth. So if we as BIAN can lower that 60, 70 cents, there is a huge amount of money available for you to do the things that you need to do. And also, just to refresh your mind a little bit, so who are in the BIAN membership as of today? And you see Absa Bank and you see Standard Bank, but you also see, for instance, Waba Bank, so they are in Kuwait. We have banks in Vietnam, we have banks in Asia, so we are a real global community. And when you look at the partners, you will see all the familiar names. You see IBM, you see Salesforce, and so you also see very small companies, startups. So startups, we have a special membership arrangement for startups, so that they also can benefit, because most of the startups are very active in payments. But everybody knows payments. But there is more in banking than payments. So we need also to help them to explore a new market. And this is the continuation of, and then we have, of course, the standards bodies. So in the middle part, you see the standard bodies. With all those in our industry, we have an arrangement in place that we can use their materials, and we can use their materials and they can use our materials. So we don't invent wheels that exist. It makes this consistent over time. So we know that we have a model with a huge amount of detail and a huge amount of content. Am I still there? Yeah. So we needed to find a way to help the industry to better use the model. So we started what we call a service framework. So here you see the service framework. So we have 6 pillars. So we need to educate people how to use the model. Then we need to adopt. Then we need to communicate. Then we need to build, and we need to collaborate. So those 5 pillars are the pillars that we announced in our summit in November in Chicago, and I will explain to you what's in the pillars. But I will also then explain what's in it for you. So when we go to the learn pillar, so we are rather successful in the whole of training. You see here we have trained 2,500 individuals. There are 1,000 people certified. But we are also improving on the training, because the training also needs to evolve with what we are producing as BIAN. So we changed the model a little bit. So we say we need to have something in place for the decision makers. The decision makers don't need to be trained, the C-levels. They don't need to be certified, but they need to be aware. So it's a 4-hour awareness course, training, whatever we would call it, to get them up to speed, because without the support of the C-levels, so I'm Dutch, so I could be rather blunt, so sorry for that, but then you don't have, as an architect, to say, who are you? We know it better, so we need to educate them also. And then we have the foundation. We had the foundation training for 2 days. We condensed it into 1 day, and then we have the different practitioners. So you can pick and choose. So we have for the developers, for the architects. So it's more a practitioner course instead of just memorizing the book. I think that people always say, so how can I be certified? I said, memorize the book. Then the problem is solved. Okay, it should be still, I don't know. I lose something. I will click, and there it goes. What we also had to solve is that we could not accommodate individuals. We only could accommodate companies for the training. So we have now an online interactive training that you can be certified for. So that's new, and it is available since 3 weeks. Yeah, and we couldn't do it alone. So we have our training partners, and there was a lot of input from Ritswana, because the trainers or the training organization can think this is a right way to do it, but then the question is it applicable within organizations? So Standard Bank helps us tremendously to tailor the trainings to the needs that we think will help banks. There is a lot of discussion on AI. And then the question is, of course, how do you apply AI? How do you use AI? And so we, and we is BIAN in this case, we are in the development of an AI training for banks. So we do a lot of work, so we identify what are the service domains that could play a role in AI, but also we talked about AI readiness and so on and so forth. So it will go from models in banking that can be, where BIAN can be the foundation, translate use cases, and AI safety in regulated environments. So there are now a handful of organizations, standards bodies who are looking to how can we create a standard for the reliability, the governance of AI. And we decided to work together with ML Commons, that's one of them, because what they say, if you, as a bank, do a prediction or you do a quote or whatever, how do you know, and that's where David was also referring, that the answer is correct? So how can you convince the regulator that the answer is correct? And they approached us to say, yeah, you have all those scenarios in place, and you say, if you want to initiate a loan, these are the steps, these are the service domains involved, and so on and so forth. So if we can create that into our standard, so if you at least tick these boxes, then the answer should be correct. So ANAP is now volunteering to participate in that working group to see if we can use the BIAN model as an underlying foundation for AI compliancy, because that becomes a real issue. Then we go to the next step. The next step is to adopt. So we have a toolkit and so on and so forth. So it's about the integrity of the model. We have the 30-minute pitch, and then we have COBRA and the publication. So what we are looking for in this pillar is how can we get the consultancies more engaged. So how can we identify if a consultancy firm tick the box for how they apply BIAN and how to use BIAN. So if you, just as an example, hire McKinsey, how do you know they do the right stuff? So we have some rules in place. We don't have, let's say, accredited, or how we would call it, consultancy partners yet, but we have a sort of framework. Oh, yeah. So we said, okay, there must be a member, they should have certified professionals, and they must be active in working groups. So not just standing on the side, and that's very difficult for consultancy firms because they all judge on billable hours, and so that's their problem. And then we would, let's say, give them the opportunity to go in our marketplace and offer their service at our marketplace. So that is important for us because we also want to help you giving the insurance that you know that if you select a partner, that it is, let's say, a reliable partner from a BIAN perspective. And now we have the design part. So we are having two pillars. One is design and one is build. So we need to help you to make better usage of the BIAN model. So we have tools. We have release 14. We have a whole set of AI-driven tools. Just go back to start with 14. It is already mentioned. So we have the 3 new service domains for insurance. So I am, from origin, an insurance guy. So I'm lobbying very long to get insurance in. But it is Standard Bank who twisted the arm of the board to do so. So we have a special working group, a very well-populated working group. There is more and more interest in it. So we are also within the board are discussing, okay, what do we need to do more to make it more attractive for insurance? These are just a subset of the release notes. You can find the release notes on the homepage. So we have our portal. So we have the different personas. And for the personas, we have the different tools available. And I will go to those tools. So if you go to the portal, then you will find those different tools that help you to make better usage of the BIAN model, but also for you to have a more structured way to communicate with the business. I think that's also something of importance. So we have this new, here it is. So we have a new view of the landscape, color-coded, so you can hover over it, and then you get, for instance, you see here in the corner, party reference data. You get all the details of party reference. So it makes makes the model better understandable and better usable. So it's great from a graphical view. You can zoom in and you can zoom out and so on. So it's just the same landscape. It's on top of the same repository, but gives you a better access. Then what we also have is the service domain browser. So you can search for a domain and you get all the details that we have about the service domain on one screen. So if you want to do a deep dive on a service domain, you want to know the meaning, you want to know the interactions, you want to know the connections, and so on and so forth, the browser gives you that information. So that makes life extremely easy, and you can just search by name, you can drill down all the way down to the behavior qualifiers and so on and so forth. So it should also help you to understand the model better and make it, let's say, faster accessible. The same we have for the business object, the data model. So you can drill down all the way in a data model in a very structured way. And if there is a link, and there is 9 out of 10 times, with the ISO 20022 database, if you want to find regional differences, because we are a canonical model, so we stop at a certain level that's applicable around the globe, but maybe you need additional information when you do something in South Africa or Australia, and you will find that in the ISO database. So this is also a new tool, and it's very structured and helps you from that perspective. Then, of course, we have our API catalog that you can also find, and we have REST and async, and we have the async APIs for event-driven design. And yesterday we had a discussion with Patrick, and Patrick said, yeah, if you drive in your car from A to B, that's event-driven. Because if there is a traffic jam, maybe your navigation said, take this exit. So it's not just a reply and respond. I think that's the difference. So we think that event-driven will be more and more, let's say, dominant in what we are doing. Also mentioned already by David, our API align. So what we do here, and sorry that is small, but maybe Arnab will do it larger, I just don't. So you take your API, and then our AI tool examine that API and set in your API there is 80% of the API covers the functionality of current account, 20% covers 30%. And so it gives you an insight in the bandwidth of your API, so you can determine if it's too wide or is it too narrow. And then there is, of course, a report that gives you the comparison in detail. So you can say, I have on endpoint what are matching, non-matching, and also gives you suggestions how to improve your API. So it's your API compared to the BIAN model. And then we have, we all know we have our scenarios, our sample process definition. And of course, they are examples, generic. And we are now having a tool that you will take the BIAN scenario, you add your 2 or 3 missing steps or remove steps, then save it in your own environment. And let's say the future thing is that we then also maybe can run or generate the workflow, more or less, the process that you can execute. But that is future state. And another thing that we were also discussing, I think this morning in the bus ride over, we have this, we have this, what we call the landscape mapper. So the landscape mapper, so what you do here, you take your landscape and you can add attributes to it. So headcount, IT stack, and so on and so forth. And then you can ask questions to your landscape. Give me all the service domains that are running on the mainframe, or give me all the service domains with whatever number of staff, and so on and so forth. So what we are also doing here is that we have here the technology stack. We are in the process of linking the ServiceNow database to the landscape, so that you don't have to type in the technology stack, but that we derive the technology stack out of ServiceNow. We do that in close collaboration with ServiceNow. So it gives you, let's say, a better tool as an enterprise architect to look at the business and where you are moving from. So, you can see it is already March, but somewhere in the end of March it will be available. Then we go to the we go to the build version. So what we are hoping here for, so we will also have our tools, but we're also hoping that we can get here for our marketplace certified products. So that a vendor said, I have here whatever a loan solution, and the loan solution is BIAN compliant. Whatever BIAN compliance is, that's under discussion, but that's one of the rules. So we have, and I go here. So we have the AI readiness, and there will be a session by Lale and Patrick on AI readiness, because we did an proof of concept where we took 3 service domains and added enough information to the service domain to generate code, to generate a running application. So we know what is missing, and a lot is missing to do so. So we started on a separate project. We hired 3 additional contractors, certified architects from our partners, and they are under the supervision of Lale, Guy Rackham, and Patrick, making that's the intent, the model AI ready. So if we have that AI readiness in place, then it gives us more opportunities to generate running code. So that would be huge. It would be mind-blowing. So we have our studio, and what we already have in the studio is, and I hope it's on the next slide. Yeah. So we have a tool, and I always say we have it. We have to look at Anap and his team. So I'm completely ignorant on the topic, but so we can analyze code. So we can analyze, in this example, we analyzed COBOL code. And then when we analyzed it, we said, okay, in this COBOL code, we identified these. We have 12 strong matches with service domain. We have partial match with service operations and with scenarios. So we look at the code and say, okay, this is what the code should do. And if you know the scenarios, and if you know the service domains involved, and we have them AI ready, then you could regenerate the COBOL code into whatever language you want in a new environment. That's the underlying. But first you need to know what you do. We cannot only do code, but we can also do documentation. So if documentation is also a little bit wobbly, but the code is of course what it is. So we are now doing COBOL code. Are we doing other languages, Anap?
We are at the moment doing.
Okay, so that's that also gives you a great insight in your existing IT environment. So what does the existing IT environment does when we compare it with BIAN? What are the functions and what are the processes that are supported? So this is huge. So, but if you have if you know what's in, then you can also say, okay, let's see if I can then update the specifications and bring them into a new code, new API definitions, and so on and so forth. So this is from step 1, when you have analyzed it, to step 2, to the design phase. And then we have the banking studio, as stated. So we have the analyzer, the service domain generator, and then we have the application builder. So those are the 3 steps. And don't get overexcited, because we only can do it for 3 service domains. So it's and we have 300 plus service domains. So there is a long way to go. But just we want to demonstrate that it is feasible. So here you see more or less that we generate the MCP agents per service domain, and then so we did, as stated, we had the 3 service domains. So, and I assume, Anap, you will demo this one again on stage? Yeah, so, but let me explain, because if Anap explains it, you won't understand it. But, so we generated the service domains, and then we can ask the question, show me my account details. And then you get the answer back, these are the account details. And then you ask the question, I want to set up a recurring payment. Then you get from the AI tool, to set up a recurring payment, you need to provide the following details. When you provide the following details, then it said, this is what we set up for the account, and then you can do your first payment, regular payment, the first payment, recurring for $100 to John Doe. So this is running software generated out of the BIAN architectural model. So I told you I started with 128K in my mainframe environment. So for me, this is mind-blowing stuff, that you can do it. Yeah, first of all, that we can do it, but also that we can do it out of a model. A model that is stable, that is, let's say, internationally accepted, and that gives you a guideline. And of course, you will need to add all your own flavors to it, and so on and so forth. So if everybody would generate the same thing, then there is no competitive advantage. So the competitive advantage is not in the plumbing, the competitive advantage is in pricing, the way you distribute your products, and so on and so forth. But this is huge. But again, temper your expectations, because it's only for 3 service domains so far. So we have the studio in Q3, so where you can then generate different languages, different databases, different LLMs. We have then security, performance, and so on, everything in. So that will be somewhere in just before the summer, your winter, our summer, available. So that is also work in progress. And then we have our chat function. So we built our own chat engine. And it's only feeded with BIAN information. So there is no public domain information. So all the answers are 1000% correct. So that also helps you extremely in finding the answers that you want to know about the BIAN model. The marketplace, so the marketplace is open. So we decided to offer a marketplace for the members to say, this is what I offer. And today we only have our training partners in. So there is nothing in it for us. So we are not taking a percentage or asking money or something. No, we want to make sure that the people who invest in BIAN also get a return on investment. So the products that are available are only from BIAN members and are approved by BIAN. But everybody can access. So members and non-members can go to the marketplace, and I want to do a training, or they want to have whatever tool, they can find it. So that's available. And then the last slide is collaboration. So when we set up this slide and these pillars, then collaboration is what we do today. Collaboration is the not-for-profit BIAN.org, where we have meetings, where we do our proof of concept, where we have the awards, when we have the summits, and so on and so forth. So this is the existing part. So the whole idea of the 4 pillars on the left-hand side is that they strengthen the pillar on the right-hand side. That's the underlying idea. And then just for those who don't know the question how to become a member, I think it's good to know that within, if you are a non-member, you can consume what we are doing. So you have read-only rights, you can look at the model. Of course, you can download PDFs, and of course, you can download PowerPoints, but that's it. And all the other stuff is for members only. So we have the AI tooling, we have trainings, and so on and so forth, all to help you to move forward. And then there's always the question, and how much does that cost? Well, it doesn't show the slide with the cost. There it is. So I think it's good to know, and the costs are relatively low, I think, so 20,000 euros for a bank for annual year, getting access to everything, no limitation on the number of people, and so on and so forth. And I always underline that we set those membership fees in 2008. We never changed them. So where in the world can you buy something for the price out of 2008? Only at BIAN. So you're looking at the 2008 price list. I think that's also good to understand. It has never been the intent, and will never be the intent of the board to raise the membership fee. That's, we want to keep the threshold as low as possible. I'm all over time, but if there is a question, I'm more than happy to answer the question. I'm extremely clear.
Absolutely.
No questions. Do you have a question, Paul?
No.
Why not?
Not for you. So thank you very much, Hans. So you've managed to do it nearly in 30 minutes. Yeah, I think, so especially people who want to understand how to adopt BIAN, how to convince your executives to work with BIAN. Hans will be here the 2 days, so speak to him or to David. But thank you, Hans. Very good to just see the evolution that's happening in BIAN. So thank you very much.
Yeah, more than welcome.